Hi, my name is Jordan Liker, and this is my Module 14 case study. In this case, we have a situation where a second-year teacher, Miss Tate, is teaching some specialized science classes. Miss Tate comes from a background that is very deep in her content area. Um, she teaches some affluent students. They come from affluent backgrounds, affluent families. Money is not usually an issue for these families. But the principal has received several calls from concerned parents about Miss Tate and her expectations, the stringent expectations of her class, as well about concerned about their child's grades. Many of the children in Miss Tate's class are competing for class honors like valedictorian, and they're in danger of getting their first low grade while in school. Uh, so the principal has discussed some techniques with Ms. Tate to use in the classroom to reduce student stress, also to build rapport with students, but to date she has not successfully implemented these suggestions. It's currently in the middle of November, which can actually increase the stress of those students because the time is running out for the end of the semester, and there are diminished chances of them raising their grade. And the principal, Dr. Smith, he's very proud of his school's reputation and his personal reputation. He's an award-winning principal, and he would like to keep those reputations in place. What we know is that Miss Tate recently discovered a website that contains some derogatory comments about her teaching, and about the rigor of her class. And she received this through an unidentified email urging her to log into the website. And one of the comments that Miss Tate viewed was, "Who wants to see Miss Tate disappear?" or "Who wants Miss Tate to disappear?" And she viewed that as a threat on her life. She was very upset, called the principal, and through some conversations between her and the principal asked some questions, and Miss Tate suggested a student that she thought who may be responsible behind the website. And the principal tells her he thinks it may just be a prank. But the principal makes a plan to speak with the student's friends, the next day, and if needed to be, they would involve the district technologist. Now, what do we need to know to solve this case properly? We need to know, is it possible to find out where the email originated from? Does Ms. Tate have any evidence besides the speculation? Um, are any of these comments identifiable to a particular person? Even the email could have just been a concerned student and not one that had anything to do with the comments. What is the district's technology use policy? Was this website created on a district-owned device, or was it created on a personal device? Um, where was the Facebook page created? Some districts have policies about if something is created on school grounds, the school has the rights to it. Um, has Miss Tate implemented any of the interventions that were suggested by the principal? Has she tried to implement these interventions, or has she um, ignored them? Or maybe she's tried and she was unsuccessful in their implementation. And then, are the comments against Miss Tate, are they legitimate threats? We need to know if those are legitimate threats. We need to ascertain that information. And finally, we need to know, what are the state laws that are regarding threats or slander against teachers where the school is located. So, in identifying the problem, the main problem that is causing all other problems here is that Miss Tate is utilizing some ineffective teaching strategies and techniques. While the rigor of her class may be quite high, students are very stressed, and so you need to find some ways to implement some some strategies that reduce the stress but maintain the challenging environment of the classroom for those students. We need to know what students are involved, which ones created these comments, and if they can be taken down. Uh, we need to know when and where the web page was created, if possible, and we need to identify if the threats against Miss Tate are credible. For the principal, it's a challenging situation because he needs to support his teachers, but also must address the poor or ineffective instruction of those teachers. Um, Even though that the concerned parents or students may actually be correct, he still needs to support his teachers, but provide them opportunities to improve that instruction. So for the immediate plan of action, first off, don't downplay the comments about Miss Tate saying that they're just a prank. We don't really know what they are at this point. Um, they don't exactly look like a death threat. It looks like it could be perceived multiple ways. It doesn't actually indicate a death threat in the comments, but it could be perceived as a threat. Um, we need some further investigation here. We don't want to escalate the situation, but we don't want to downplay it either. We need to inform the superintendent of the issue, and we also need to call the police and inform them of the issue and see if an investigation is warranted here. If an investigation is warranted, the police can be a great asset for the school. They can procure some information that the school by themselves cannot. And so they can help solve the problem too if this was deemed to be a credible threat. And then we also need to speak with the technology director and find out as much information as possible before we actually talk with the students. The more information we have, the better those conversations can go with students. And with the students, we need to interview the students to find out necessary information. If we haven't found some information out already, we need to maybe confirm information that we've previously learned. We can work with the law enforcement. We can decide if an investigation is warranted, determine the seriousness of the threats. Are these threats credible here? And if we have a known group of students that is involved, we need to find out some more information. If we talk to them and their stories don't quite match up, if they're not in conflict, we'll bring them together, and so they can hear each other's versions. And a lot of times you're going to see those students that will correct each other, and you're going to get to the bottom of a situation. Um, if it can be determined who posted the threat, action must be taken according to the law and district policies on the internet use violations and cyberbullying. We can contact Facebook if necessary. We can try to get some information from Facebook. Um, we could review with the students and reteach the district's policy on internet use and its violations to the offending students that if we find those students. And we need to contact the parents of the students involved. Tell them the situation, any consequences that those students will incur because of their actions. And we need to attempt to remove the web page if at all possible. Contact Facebook if we need to, but get that web page down. And throughout this entire process, we need to document all factual information. We don't want to document hearsay, but we just want to document the factual information. For Miss Tate, um, we need to stress the importance of Miss Tate being a professional in the classroom in the aftermath of this and as the investigation is happening. We can't bring personal matters into the professional world of the education of the students, and not all the students were involved in this. It's entirely unfair to punish other students for actions that they didn't do. We need to continue to have Miss Tate implement some more effective teaching strategies. Since it's already November and Miss Tate has been in the district over a year and hasn't implemented some of these strategies, it may be time to put Miss Tate on a plan of improvement to improve the classroom climate. Give her specific dates that we need to have things accomplished by and the tools necessary and the education if she needs it to implement some strategies that can improve the climate of her classroom and improve those relationships with the students that she has. For the future, for the plan for the future, we should reevaluate the school's curriculum and program on the use of technology and digital citizenship. If needed, we need to develop a time in the schedule where this can be taught to some students. This is going to be an issue that's going to only get more prevalent in the future. We need to develop some consistent review schedules of the curriculum and update it as necessary. Technology is being updated extremely fast, and so schools need to stay up to date with their instruction of that technology as well. And we need to have teachers and the technology department review the program periodically to ensure that it meets the students' needs and the needs of the school. For the immediate issue in resolving and promoting student success, we don't need to make assumptions or make unsubstantiated accusations. We need to speak with the proper authorities to get as much information and facts before we speak to those students. We need to have hard copies of the page in case, because as the investigation goes, that page may be taken down and we wouldn't have access to that anymore. And we should continue to support Miss Tate, but also listen and act on the concerns of the students and parents. Um, and inform the parents of any disciplinary actions taken. Uh, the parents and students, they have a right to learn. The students are there to learn, so we need to take the concerns of those students into account, and the concerns of those parents. They are all stakeholders in the education of the students. But I believe the ultimate issue in this case is the ineffective instruction in Ms. Tate's classroom. The other issues are stemming from this main issue. This may be able to be addressed through evaluation. We could place Ms. Tate on a plan of improvement, providing we are promoting the academic success and the personal well-being of every student by placing her on this plan of improvement to improve her classroom instruction. Um, she has previously either not implemented the suggestions or implemented them in ineffective ways, and so we need to find out which that is and get these strategies implemented. We can provide some training on classroom management for Ms. Tate, building relationship with students, and some of that could be we provide a time that she can observe a highly effective teacher that's in the school or in the district, and she can learn from that teacher, the actions of that teacher, on how to provide a rigorous class, but yet one that values students. And for the future, we need to implement some programs with an increased emphasis on digital citizenship and the proper internet use. As technology progresses, it's only going to become more important in the future of these students. Um, we need to think of, can we raise this can raise awareness of some issues within the school and outside of the school as well, help improve our school. It can take some steps to prevent similar occurrences from happening in the future. Um, but just teaching students about this, the proper use, we can prevent this from happening again in the future. And it helps create a safer learning space where academic success is promoted, and coursework is rigorous, but their personal well-being of the students and staff is also considered. In this case, some of the things I was thinking, um, the violation of the internet use is a subset of the larger issue with Miss Tate and her instruction in the classroom. Some more direct instruction on the part of the principal or other administrators may be necessary um, for Miss Tate to transition her classroom into a less stressful environment for students, but still value academics and hold the students to a high standard. You can hold the students to a high standard and yet make it a welcoming and inviting place too. Um, and we need to, and I would also think of what is the district policy in regards to the internet use violations. Um, what if it happens off of school grounds and with private devices? Many districts now provide devices for their students, and so what are the policies with those devices? We need to make sure we're always updating those policies and handbooks to make sure that we are staying up to the times with the current technology and the technology being used in schools. And one of the unresolved issues is just that, as the technology continues to advance, how do schools and districts adapt their policies quickly enough to address the changes in schools? Is there ways to adapt those policies within the school year, or is it only in between school years? And so that needs to be looked at as well. Some of the things I was feeling in this case, I felt that Miss Tate was overreactive to the situation. Um, she mentioned that she drove 3 hours to go stay the night at her parents because she was afraid. So she was definitely overwhelmed by the situation, but I think she was a little bit overreactive. I felt the threat that she conceived as a death threat could have meant that the writer was wanting her to be removed from her position as a teacher at the school, just in other words, non-renewed in her contract. Um, and I felt that she may had some ill will and some ill feelings towards the student, William, that may have influenced her thoughts of who could be involved. And I felt that Dr. Smith's desire to preserve the public perception of himself and his school may have influenced some of his decisions being made about maybe not contacting law enforcement or the technology director right away and trying to keep it kind of um, below the radar of the community. Some of the unresolved issues here, um, Miss Tate may need some more training on classroom management. She may need a mentor that can help her implement some strategies. that she can observe and build on some positive interactions between herself and her students to create a positive learning environment in her classroom. Some of the things I was valuing in this case, I value the suggestions that Dr. Smith is giving Miss Tate to help her become a better teacher, some of those strategies. Um, I value the academic success of all the students. All the students have a right to learn. I value the calmness of the administration. They did not uh, make the situation worse by becoming hysterical as well, um, but they may have went the other way a little bit too far too. I value that the school would take any threat seriously, though. That is a any threat needs to be taken seriously and investigated properly. Um, the correct use, some of the unresolved issues would be the correct use of the internet and digital citizenship. That may need to be addressed for all students. If that's not being currently addressed in the school, that may need to be addressed in future years or maybe future in the current year. Some of the professional ethics of integrity and in this case. How did I show in my handling proper integrity that promoted the success of every student? Well, I had the interests of both the student and the teacher in mind. I wanted to investigate thoroughly, not jump to conclusions or make unsubstantiated accusations. I didn't want to downplay Miss Tate's feelings, but I also didn't want to generate more hysteria or ill will towards the students. Um, the threats involved could be taken multiple ways in this case. And I wanted to stress the importance of Miss Tate remaining professional during this trying time. It's hard personally for her, but because many students had nothing to do with the post, all these students need to be treated fairly. We don't need to take our personal issues and involve them in the instruction, the classroom instruction of students. In fairness, how did I use fairness to promote the success of every student? I would put Miss Tate on a plan of improvement. It gives opportunities for learning and therefore improving her teaching. And it also helps address some of the concerns of the parents and students that they have about Miss Tate, stressing the importance of professionalism and also protects the students who weren't involved. I did not jump to any conclusions or act on hearsay when addressing the issue. You can only act purely on fact. Um, in these investigations, and acting on that fact is extremely important. And I realize that some decisions are made that are not going to be popular with all the parties. No matter in some situations, no matter what decision the principal makes, it's not going to be popular with some people. And so um, my reputation may change for some of these individuals, but the school and the students will be better off in the long run. So I cannot base my decisions on what is popular, but I need to base those decisions to promote the success of every student and making decisions on what is best for students and uh, not just teachers or certain parents and certain students. And the ethics involved, um, how did I act in an ethical manner to promote the success of all students? Um, I took the previous concerns of the parents and students into consideration when deciding to put Miss Tate on a plan of improvement to better the academic success of both the teacher and the students. The goal here is to build some relationships and improve the educational environment for everyone. I made decisions on what was best for the students and not just to preserve reputations of the school or myself as a principal. Contacting the police and superintendent could be viewed negatively by some in the community, but it may be necessary um, to preserve the well-being of all the individuals that were involved. And I act ethically by investigating the claims made by others and not just assuming guilt based on the information of others, but actually investigating that and finding the facts behind it. And I hope to ensure that the personal nature of these actions does not spill over into the professional duty of providing a high quality education for all students in the school. Thank you for listening.